Hey everybody, it's me, Culture Casino. Thank you for joining me for another Meet the High Rollers. We've got two of them actually on stage. They don't know it. You can probably hear them, but we're gonna just shoot the breeze today. It's a little makeup session of High Rollers. I owe these guys some time. I owe you some time. So here we are live and in person. So for those of you out in the audience, it's good to see you. We got a few of you that were here early, including Mexican Iron Man, who's throwing shade at me. We got low spec Linux laptop out there, best YouTuber ever. Yeah, that is Mexican Iron Man. We got Sergeant Garantina. Good to see you. And of course, Lester's on the panel. We've got Liberty Hall's cat as well, and we've got horseradish power out there. So we've got me and my monkey. I'm hearing a little bit of feedback from somebody. I'm guessing Mr. Cat here. But we've got Tom F in the house. We've also got Real Wade Nation Gaming and many more. So this is looking very good. We've got Swift -1 out there. Hey Matt G, how's it going? Scott Summers is joining us. And yeah, it's just gonna be one of those low-key live streams. We start out small, we grow big. It's good to see good to see everybody there. At Liberty Hall's cat, how's it been going, my friend? You doing well?
Doing pretty well. Hopefully that wasn't me, but it could have been since we talked about that earlier. I kind
Oh
of
yeah,
wanted.
yeah, no worries. Just if you hit the mute button,
I,
between conversation, you're covered. So
yeah, that's what I did. As soon as you
yeah,
said that, I went straight to mute. So anyhow,
yeah, no
doing
worries.
pretty good. Just getting the year off started here and everything like that. And like I said, I dropped the wife off at the casino, and I'm sitting in a car in a parking garage. So waiting to see if she's made any money or if I'm gonna have to spot her some more.
There you go. Well, that's always fun. A little outing, a
Oh
little a
yeah.
little outing from house. Of course, I spend a lot of times in my car doing a lot of work. So believe me, I understand. Lester, how's it going, bud?
Oh, I'm doing all right. Thankful to have a job, still be able to live it where I live. Health has been improving, so
Good.
I've been getting more wins, and then whatever apparent losses, I'm trying to take gracefully as they come.
Yeah, understood. Yeah, no, I'm glad your health is improving, and I'm glad to see it. It's been a while, and it has been a while for all of you. Those of you that are unfamiliar, this is a supposed to be a monthly live stream where we have the high rollers on. We did kind of give a little bit of a warning this morning and yesterday on the 6 Minute Daily to say this was coming today. Sometimes it fits into a window for an afternoon for most people on the East Coast or an evening. Sometimes it fits into a window for a late night over in the UK. It just depends. Sometimes we have early morning stuff that works for everybody. So you just never know when these are going to happen, but they do happen, or I try to make them happen once a month. So I think I owe two still. So we've got this one and two more to come. Maybe we'll get both of them done this month. I don't know. But yeah, I always try to make good on my promises. The holidays made that really difficult. But anyway, hello and everybody. If you are interested, good to see you, Staccato. If you're interested in participating and you happen to be a high roller, go check out the community posts in there. You should have gotten a notification if you turned on all notifications for the channel that this was happening today and how you can join through StreamYard. If you are not high rollers, hey, you don't have to be. This is a live stream for everybody, just getting to meet all the great people that really do support my channel in some of the biggest ways possible. I did get a message here from a few people, one saying that they sent me an email. All right, Real Wade, we'll have a conversation, but take heart if you can't join us today, that there'll be two more of these most likely this month. I'm going to try to make good on them all. TZ Burton is out there. Great to see you. And the Red Dawn Batman is out there as well. We've got King of the Monsters, 1954. And yeah, Mr. Cat is in the house. We've got several Mr. Cats on the channel. We've got lots of lady cats too, and I would say I really appreciate the avatars with the animals. It really does lift my day with how many of those there are out there. So if you got a cute cat, dog, or tiger, in the case of Angela Richter out there. That's always fun to see when we're going through our chat. FKHC 2005 is joining us today. We got this is kind of fun getting to see everybody. Ruby, who've gifted, you didn't have to gift anything, Ruby, but thank you for that. A Culture Casino membership. So whoever received that, welcome and thanks for being here. All right, guys, anything you want to talk about? Anything pressing? You guys, I mean, is it, do you want to vent about Disney or Universal or Warner Brothers, or you want to talk business? You want to talk about what's going on in California? What do you want to do? I mean, this is your time. Let's meet the high rollers.
I'm pretty open right now. It's just there's so much been going on this year. It's just like every week there's something new that's happening. So
Yeah,
it's
it seems wild, doesn't it? I mean, how much news there's actually been.
yeah. Well, we had the stuff that went on in New Orleans, and then we have the LA fires, which is just it's terrible down there on that. And I'm just waiting to see what shoe's going to drop this weekend. So hopefully none.
Yeah, well, we are 5 days away officially from a replacement leader. A little less than 5 days now, and I'm feeling still optimistic, believe it or not, despite some recent news that was covered earlier today by the million people watching Alex Jones on X. That James O'Keefe kind of delivered to us the last evening, I believe. The fact that there was a person in government trying to compromise Trump's presidency.
I saw that
Yeah.
part of that O'Keefe video on X, but I never didn't follow up on it. It's like I've got too much on my plate enough. I need to take a break from some of that.
Yeah. No,
Hopefully not. But I did hear there was an interesting one, on Carrie Underwood singing, for the inauguration and the flack she's been getting. My wife was telling me, and I haven't researched it, so I don't know. But I think the show that she's on were pretty upset with her.
well, yeah.
So
I
I
mean,
don't know.
well, The View did not get super
Yeah.
excited about it, although, Whoopi Goldberg says, well, it doesn't matter to me. I mean, it's a performer. They got to
Mhm.
make money. But, sometimes it's really strange. She seems to be one of the most balanced people on there. And sometimes, because it's her show. Most people don't realize that she's kind of the quarterback on that team.
Okay.
And when it comes to legal matters and things like that, she mistakenly hands those off to Sonny Houston because, believe it or not, she's a lawyer.
You
Um,
wouldn't know it.
and you would not know it. She says some of the silliest stuff, and I'm like, "Why are you doing that?" Well, I'm about to drop a video about The View. That's kind of the video I was working on editing today, about The View and its expansion. So
Well,
that
well,
one will go ahead. Go
well,
ahead.
isn't Carrie Underwood is she on The Voice or one of those shows like that
Oh yeah.
too? But I heard what my wife was telling me was that apparently they were unaware that she was going to do that, and that she may be catching flack from them.
Well, I don't think that would be in their best interest to do,
And
and
and then that ABC as well.
I think so. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
they do have one of those talent competition shows. I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah. I don't
You
I
know,
don't know, like I said, she was telling me that while we were driving here, and I didn't have a chance. I went, "Well, that's interesting." I said, "If" so,
yeah, I can't really speak to that. I do know that she did get some flack from a lot of different places, and it's
mm,
it's it's often I find that really silly. I'm like,
really.
if you're looking for dividing lines and things like that, um, you want to divide it over music, and this is why I'm flabbergasted. I'm sure you can tell that when I cover Taylor Swift, I understand she's the biggest pop star there is on the planet right now.
Mhm.
Would I favor her more if she covered regular songs and wasn't so driven by, I'm lonely again because I made poor choices kinds of songs, right? And then, it ostracizing men at the same time. I'm not a huge fan of that and those tropes. But said all that aside, she's the hottest pop star act on the planet. It's not in her best interest to divide her audience. Let's hope that she doesn't do that. Um,
No,
but
I agree. There's a lot of actors I like. I don't like their politics, but I love watching
Hey,
them
barking, man.
until they start inserting themselves into everything else and trying to tell me what I should be doing. And then I kind of like, well, I don't know about that anymore.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, like the last artist that I think had the kind of political uproar or upheaval like this was the Dixie Chicks, and that's going back 25 years, 30 years, a long time.
Oh yeah.
Um, and there's no reason to react to this. People, if they're asked to perform, it's an act of patriotism for your country. I don't know that you necessarily are, you're not condoning anybody. You're just at this regular celebration of our freedom in this country. I mean,
Absolutely.
elections are are only able to have them because of our freedoms. But Red Dawn Batman says best wishes to Sunny and her husband, who might be going to jail for the RICO Act. Yeah. Well, I guess a lot of people were hinting at the fact that she may have aided in that, not intentionally, but with her mouth. I'm like, I don't know necessarily, but you probably can find an article about that over there on That Park Place or Bounding into Comics and other sites that I may have participated in. So there's that. We've got Mrs. Trump, Melania, is suing The View for a lot of money. Yeah, a giant chunk of money. The View has opened themselves up to lots of problems in many different ways. And we will have to see what scrutiny any of the legal matters are featured for things. But I would imagine that there will be a lot of legal scrutiny placed on some of the decisions made by judges in this country, but I don't really want to talk about those kinds of politics. I will say Disney's in big trouble. Because if you caught any of the pro show, any of the stuff that Valiant's been talking about, or any of the articles on That Park Place about it, they've kind of wrecked about 1/3 of their audience. They're foregoing money and profitability. I would say that's not a big. I would say that's a big deal. What do you guys think?
Oh, I agree, and that's kind of what I was thinking about with her, was if on the ABC, and if they start, I mean, I fully support her. I like what she's doing, but if they start making a big deal at it from there, then it's just going to be another nail in the coffin.
Yeah, I think we're gonna start seeing. I think we're gonna start seeing more and more people walk away from companies that are very interested in dividing politically, and when they should just be bringing people together for entertainment purposes. At least that's my opinion. You can't imagine that that's quality leadership at that corporation representing the investors' fiduciary or fulfilling, the leader fulfilling their fiduciary duty. You are supposed to think first and foremost of the profitability and the absolute best in the best interests of your investors. And I don't think dividing along political lines is doing that. I think you're limiting your audience, right?
Agree. So I think we beat that one to death.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, like you said, I mean, it's really easy to get through subjects super fast when you have conversations like this.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Lester, you got anything?
No, I'm just gonna wait and see, because it's very easy to play armchair quarterback and make prognostications, but as the pundits I follow when it comes to geopolitics, it's just don't pay too much attention to what the Don says. Pay more attention to what he does. That's how I'm gonna play it out. Just I didn't know what to think of what the Brandon presidency was going to bring us. I didn't know until we saw the fruits of whatever labors exhibited by the administration, or lack thereof, depending on one's viewpoint. It's all right. You do something, and then what's the result of it? And then we respond accordingly.
Yeah, the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I support that.
I just wish people aren't afraid of creativity, because for whatever reason, it's strange when we think of studios being risk averse, yet they are taking on a risk of pushing a narrative in such a way that, and I don't know who spearheaded the movement, but blaming the audience for not receiving or having a poor reception or whatever they put out. Like, never thought the fans would be blamed for a product not selling itself. I'm sorry, I'm one of those who now waits for the word of mouth, there isn't any more buzz created anymore. I don't see it. I don't have anticipation, and I've been saying, and
Oh, I think I lost y'all. Hello.
sorry about that. I was just saying that there's no anticipation, especially with how the model of distribution has been so flipped upside down. My FOMO is pretty dead, where I'll just wait for it to. No one's telling me you gotta go watch something at IMAX. And yes, when I watched Deadpool and Wolverine, I did see a difference between a standard screen and an IMAX screen. Clarity was like night and day, but is it worth the extra dough? There have to be factors in place that would make me say, I will go out and watch this and that movie in IMAX.
I have to agree with that too. I've seen a couple of in IMAX, and when it comes to it, I go to the movies to be entertained.
Here's
So
where
they-
I'm with you guys, right? I go for entertainment too, and for whatever reason, my voice got really loud. Sorry about that, and I didn't mean to cut you off, Liberty Halls. But I think premium large format is oftentimes worth it if it's shot with actual IMAX equipment, because if it's done in a shoddy way, it's just a repurposed image. That does bother me. But we have another guest in the back, and go ahead, Liberty Halls. Go ahead.
No, I was sitting here on my phone. I accidentally hit the mic button. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, we are joined today by the amazing Tony Stark. What's going on, Mr. Stark?
Yeah, it's good evening. Good evening. I saw you were doing this thing and had some spare time in between recordings. I'd figured I'd stop by and give a howdy.
Tony is going to be our musical guest in this upcoming Sunday's late night culture show. We're gonna have a slightly different format, a little bit of a remake on that Sunday show. We'll have a musical guest with a short interview. And then we'll have other guests to come in and talk about specific issues. It'll be less of a panel show and more of a variety show, which was kind of what I was aiming for. So, if you're unfamiliar with the gentleman that just joined us, he is a YouTube personality, Stark of Iron, and you should check him out. He's well worth it. Does a lot of work with a lot of other wonderful creators, and overall just a generally good dude. So well, anyway, welcome. I'm so glad you're a high roller, and thanks for joining.
Yeah, well, I've been for a while, through thick and thin.
Yeah, I know what thin is. I know what that thin is like, let me tell you.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
absolutely glad you're here today. So anything going on right now that you're
I'm writing another parody song for the Big Boss. And
you probably should tell everybody who the Big Boss is.
Overlord DVD.
That's right. Yeah.
His lordship entered within the hollow earth.
That's right. And Tony's responsible for a lot of great things over on Doomcock's channel. So do check that out if you're so inclined. Mr. Stock is in the house. We got Punk Waddle that just joined us, and Michael Krinsky. Good to see you all. Thanks for popping in. It's interesting. I mean, we fired off a lot of subjects, and we dealt with them rather expediently. This show needs to be longer than 20 minutes. So, you guys have anything else we want to talk about? We're cutting right through. It was fun. So,
ludicrous speed. Go.
That's what we did, actually. Well done.
Well, unfortunately, I had some stuff I thought about before, but I'm not at the house, so my notes are sitting there. And now, of course, I get on here, my mind goes completely blank.
Yes, I often do that on live streams. I love it when somebody asks me a direct question about something, because then it's like, oh yeah, I can think of an answer for that.
Okay, culture. I got a direct question for me.
Oh, okay.
How's the beard oil coming?
Man, I have got major issues with suppliers and packaging. It's more a nightmare than anything else. I've been trying to get this off the ground for 2 years, 2 years I've been trying to get this done. And I so want to bring out some real genuine products for men that can bear, the famous rooster, right?
Yep.
And I don't know what's going on. It's very, very frustrating. So, but
I'm picking at you. I
no,
figured
no,
you'd run into that. So
no, it every turn, and again, I mean, you would think it'd be more or less difficult than this, right? But it isn't. It isn't. The I have all the fragrances selected, the whole 9 yards, and what I'm using specifically with the oils. So, you don't get residue buildup and things like that. I'm going to be very clear. The instructions are very clear on how to properly use it. Depending on the circumstance and what you're aiming for. It's the same thing with the hair and body products. It's just, you never know what you're going to encounter when you're trying to get something done like this, especially when you have, I'm a great consumer of products like this. I have never developed, formulated, or worked with anybody that does that. So it's definitely on me. I take responsibility, but as you pointed out, there's only so many times in it, or so much time in the day. I don't know about that, but yeah, I like you said, when it's ready, I think I will send it out to probably I'm gonna have members test it, so that's where we're gonna go with that.
Okay,
So,
well, you can put me on the list, but
okay,
but
fair enough.
that's an old saying. We will ship no beard oil before it's time.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know. It's not like you're going to drink it, but Staccato DDS, that's a good question. What do you think Trump will reverse first? I think he's already slated 100 executive orders. I have a feeling most of the most recent policies, which are to damage our energy independence, I believe that first and foremost that'll go into effect. And I think simultaneously he's going to remove DEI from the all elements of the administration that he sees over, because we have to remember, if the United States is structured as a corporation, and there's a lot of arguments to be made for that it is, the executive is going to direct policy, and that will change substantially. So hopefully we'll do that, do all those things first. But I think the most damaging thing really has been energy policy in this country. And I think that once we have Doge in effect and all of these other elements, we'll be able to replace redundancies. There's so many different things that are going to happen all at the same time. But I think energy, and I think how the government is administered, I'm fairly certain, based on the strength of the statements that he's made. And I was actually present for at AmFest when he was doing his speech there. I think he's going to get rid of a lot of DEI and things like that have no place in government and are technically illegal. And also darn right, not human friendly. It's not good for human rights. So,
well,
yeah.
I did see today, and I don't know, you always got to take everything with a grain of salt when you first see it show up on X, do a little research, but there was one that he was really coming down hard on wind turbines. And I'd seen another article. I went and did a quick research where a couple of weeks ago, he did talk about there would be no more, production of new wind turbines and what have you like that. So I think that's going to be interesting.
Yeah,
they're not recyclable. The thing about
absolutely.
it is, whenever they break down, there's no way that you can reuse or repurpose any of those resources because of the what they're made out of.
Well, I've seen the burial grounds for the blades on the carbon fiber blades and everything like that. So, and yeah,
it is disconcerting when you realize just how much waste space they take up, because they literally have their quote unquote, as Liberty Hall's cat said, their own graveyards or their own locations for burial, and that's all they do with them. I mean, they're made up. They are giant. Unless they've changed something recently, giant carbon fiber epoxy structures. These blades.
That's what I remember.
Yeah, and they are not biodegradable. They're a problem in that sense. The manufacturing footprint for them also, if you look at what it takes to make them, construct the towers, the whole 9 yards, everything that's associated with them, there's no way to say that that's a carbon neutral product. It just
Not
isn't.
when you put in the whole chain.
It's
Yeah.
inefficient. It's an inefficient. You're still
Mhm.
using more base resources that we are known to use to build one of those, and they will never ever have any return on the amount of energy that they put out in comparison to what we put into making one of those.
Absolutely. Anyhow, but hopefully, it'll be interesting to see where they go with nuclear power too.
Well,
I really.
no, I was just going to say, I'm not sure what Jan was trying to say there. I can't decipher. Anyway, but sorry, I just got distracted trying to figure out what that was. But I do figure that the amount of money and resources that we've dumped into some of these alternate energy um, uh, technologies has largely been wasted. If there was demand for these things, they would be readily acceptable by the markets. There would be competition in the market to push farther into them. I'm not arguing against some form of green energy, but to be fair, as you were pointing out there, Liberty Halls, the nuclear energy is still the best. I mean, we haven't been able
It's
to overcome it as of
it's
yet.
the cleanest carbon footprint. It literally has less carbon emissions per year than an aerosol can.
Yep.
Okay.
Without a doubt.
So like, it's just the waste management that's often the hurdle for nuclear power, and I understand that. I mean, when you go through that uranium material and you have to, ship it somewhere, I get that. But we're getting into an era of where we can start just launching that stuff into space with Falcon Heavy rockets. The Falcon Heavy is the most powerful rocket designed, and it's capable of taking heavy payloads up and out. You want to know how you get rid of nuclear waste? You give people the jobs to do it. Jobs in space and aeronautics.
Yep.
We're getting to the point now where we're going to be capable of having, dump off stations or plan routes to just throw waste away. That is a viable avenue, and one
I like
that
the
we
way
should
you
pursue.
think.
I think that's not a terrible idea. And I think if we start to wander down the road towards terraforming, which if we're going to go to the moon, we're going to go to Mars, we're going to other locations around the stars, they're going to have their own resources too. What's there? We know some of what's in these locations when we get there, but perhaps there will be benefits to that type of waste material in those situations. We just don't know yet. We do know that the sun has a lot of those types of materials. I would imagine we could build the sun's mass. Perhaps, I don't know. Would it be completely gone before it got there? I also don't know that. But I think that I think that there's a lot of other ways to solve for the waste issue when it comes to that. So, and it's not a bad suggestion to send it off into space. I'd like to know where it's going.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just more
The sun.
critical path. Yeah, the sun. Well, you could, like I said, you could put it on an orbit, JK, into that. But there's obstacles that can be overcome. A lot of things have been overcome. And
you can use your delivery vehicle to send the payload out, make sure that it has enough push to leave orbit, and just send nuclear waste to the most efficient nuclear reactor we know, and that's our parent star.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, and it's kind of the thought that I've often had is that we can deal with these issues. They're a nuisance level at best. But beyond all of that, we know that they have nuclear powered submarines, ships, all kinds of things. If it was really that much of a problem, we would not have those. There's lots of other things in the works now. There are other vehicles that are being powered in that way. Some of them are quite, classified, but you also consider that, at one point in time, we were going to have nuclear powered planes in the air, sky fortresses that would never have to descend if they, unless they needed some kind of maintenance. So pretty fascinating. And as Mr. Stock points out, cold fusion's in the work. So it's a possibility as well. Energy is one of those things we absolutely need, and we need to have energy independence from any and everyone else. And it never made sense to me to neutralize the energy production that we had as broad and as many types as we have in this country. We are replete with resources, and don't let anybody else fool you. One of the greatest oil strikes in history is right here in the United States and still continues to be there. We've got locations that Biden ultimately tried to take away from access and use, and I imagine that'll be another thing that will change directions rather rapidly.
Well, I remember this was back in the late 90s, early thousands, where everybody was talking about peak oil. Peak oil. We're going to run out of peak oil. Well, guess what? They found out there's other ways to get to the oil, and all of a sudden that peak oil just went away. That whole thing just disappeared from the equation. So like I said, let technology, let the people do their thing, let them think, and that there'll be solutions.
You could always invest in ion fusion too, seeing that it's more grounded within the materials that we already have. A lot of the hurdles that we have for some of our technology, especially in power production, are still limited by the alloys and the environments that we create for these reactions. So it's something that we need to look into, because we are blessed to be the third rock from the sun, because as a star detonates and the material cools down, there's heavier and heavier elements the closer you are, because you're hotter longer for those fusions to happen and those elements to form.
Would you also suggest, as Elon has and many others, that we need to be multiplanetary because disasters at a global scale can happen, and we don't want the negligence of California to spread to the globe?
There is enough iron on Mars, just enough iron to be able to use for steel demand and to provide, base metals for, housing, vehicle production, industry. Just having one refinery on Mars. One refinery on Mars. And we could handle a lot of resource allocation in the long run. The asteroid field is often littered with all of those precious metals as well. There's an asteroid literally called Pallas. I noticed that somebody was mentioning cold fusion earlier. There is a theoretical reactor that uses a push-pull cold fusion system between platinum and palladium. Pallas, as the asteroid is so mentioned, is 60% palladium, which is something that is a bit of a rarity back here at home. And we can use what little platinum that we have here with that palladium and be able to actually have portable resources for experimenting. So that's quite possible. But what do you guys think? Do you think that we should probably invest in space? It's a vote for me. Obviously, we're not going to leave our star system anytime soon, but we definitely need to start taking steps. What do you guys think?
Well, for me, I remember as a kid telling my parents I wanted to go see 2001: A Space Odyssey. I grew up watching NASA, watching the Mercury missions, the Gemini missions, the Apollo missions. So my vote's going to be yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just disappointed, and just sometimes I wondered, how did we get off track? I mean, I look at it and I understand some of it, but yeah, I'd say, yeah, we need to, the culture, to answer your question, multiplanetary society, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I got to see it my lifetime, no, but I hope my children and my grandchildren.
Yeah, I don't think I'll see it. I mean, I may be one of the volunteers that says, you know what, I'm going to go to Mars. It won't be easy. Mars is going to be a hard go. But Staccato DDS is correct. The best way to get inflation and control a globalist, to be fair, is to bring more oil and energy production online. We have natural gas for days, weeks, months, years. We can sell it to any and everybody, with the right kind of pipeline. And if we negate a lot of the interference from, foreign nationals, we can put ourselves in a very positive situation. So yeah, get more oil in line. Yes, natural gas and other natural resources.
We can also learn better refining techniques and better engines to use oil in a more efficient manner so that we don't burn through as much. That's stuff that we can do now.
Sure, but we also have been really lackadaisical in our plastics production, and not exactly super efficient in that as well. We do need to return in certain industries back to glass. Glass is incredibly available and infinitely recyclable. It just takes energy to produce it into or turn it into something else, rather than the Coke bottle, turn it into a milk jug, or turn it into a glass storage container. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do with glass that I'm always amazed that we don't. Very surprising. But I wanted to say hi to the Peter Bankford fan site. Good to see you. Dark Woods is in the house. Dark Woods presents 5 more days. I can't wait.
Nice cat.
So many. I know. I love that. Right. So many people are in this mindset right now, to be fair. The space shuttle killed 14 astronauts. Yeah. Not super effective use of humanity. A not perfectly conceived vehicle. It ignored a lot of engineering rules that I think Elon is following a little bit different. And I really am uncomfortable with Amazon's rocket program, the New Glenn rocket. I'm not really a fan of that design. It really does look like Jeff Bezos's compensation device. So yeah, if you get my illusions.
Yeah.
Hey, Daryl, good to see you, buddy.
Let's just say a third rocket for a pair.
Jan Monroe says, I don't think being breastfed to the dulcet tones of Shatner as Captain Kirk counts as wanting to watch Star Trek.
When you need to get more breastfeeding from Captain James Tiberius Kirk.
Hey, Sean Carter's out there. There's a cute pupper face for you.
Sean Carter is a great guy. He does great sci-fi models. I'm going to shout him out. He's a good friend of mine. He's awesome. The John Candy to my Dan Aykroyd.
Oh, well.
Yeah, whenever we have a few drinks and we're backstage just like working on bits and skits and stuff, it's funny.
That's cool. Yeah, I haven't had a chance to hang out with Doomcock in a really long time. Anyway. I guess he and I are very busy. Staccato says there can be parallel courses. Oh, I agree with you. But there should be but no oil is just stupid. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm one of those guys. I'm like, why are we limiting ourselves? Why are our reserves not replenished? Why are we fighting against the idea of taking a natural resource and utilizing it? I don't understand the thought processes here, but it is what it is.
We got taken off track and we didn't let free market run everything.
Our technological focus went solely on communications. That's the reason why we've plateaued. Economists have pulled together correlative data on the subject. We have the ability right now to send a picture of, say Darkwoods Presents Cat to anywhere on the planet in less than, a microsecond. But we're still here in America using diesel-powered trains that we've been using since the 60s. Like there's been a refocus of where our technological effort has been going, and that's into technology, specifically communications technology and media. So obviously other researches like medicinal, space, all of these things are being ignored because it's not as profitable. It's not as something that can be immediately reached now.
I also think that I just think there are certain directives being hijacked by certain sectors or certain slices of the pie. Like, I would call them enviro Yahtzees. Because, okay, like we talked about, okay, environmentalism, environmental stewardship. Okay, that's an issue, but it almost as though
But at what cost?
we're so quick to assume what the problem is, because I think it was Culture who just brought up the issue of biodegradability, or it might have been you, Tony, who did bring up this issue of biodegradability. That's one end of it. There are just so many factors and facets to the issue of what would be a problem for the environment, or the issue of caring for the environment responsibly. And because of the hijacking, we're so fixated on whatever degree of self-consciousness these people tend to have, wherever that comes from, I'm not sure. But, virtue signaling is a popular practice, and I don't know the history of that, but it seems to have taken a stranglehold for, I would say, decades. And I just think about, yes, let's look at all of the possible solutions. And it's almost as though, no, we have to use wind, we got to use solar. But is that really? And people are just so afraid. They still have a bugaboo about nuclear because of that. What is it called? The 3 Mile incident or something.
3 Mile
like that.
Island, and
Yeah.
well, we were on a nuclear renaissance in the 2008, and the Fukushima hit, and that killed it. And I'm from the power industry. I spent 36 years in the oil and gas, and I actually was running our nuclear power part of our marketing department, engineering on that at the time. And we were really making some headways from our business, and then all of a sudden Fukushima hit, and it just went down.
That's too bad.
Yep.
But then again, it's almost as though, okay, great, Japan, I understand that you had those incidents, but like the thing with Chernobyl, a lot of it came down to just, I don't know if it's ethos, but shoddy quality control of their facility in Chernobyl. I would like to think that we have a better sense of quality control. At least that's my hope. Anyway.
Well, my experience on the nuclear side was here in the U.S. It was very, very. If you had safety-related components, there was a lot of hoops you jumped through, from welding all the way through. And I've had the opportunity. I've been to a bunch of different plants, and there's always going to be issues here and there. But the people I worked with back in the 90s and the early 2000s, they took their job very seriously.
Well, I would imagine that, again, as somebody who respects engineers, civil engineers, electronic engineers, I think engineering is incredibly important. STEM is basically the future. People have suggested in the chat and here on this panel that we took a giant step back from progress as far as science and development went. Not just because we focused, as Tony correctly suggested, was on communications, but because we didn't dive into the other sciences, especially material science. I think we've really started to rediscover that now with things like graphene, which we've known about for a while, and not only that. This, but multicrystalline structures, which will allow for better solar rendering of power, which we're starting to see. Persivite, I forget what the name of the crystalline structure is now that they're doing double face solar with, but that seems to be the way. We also are learning that perhaps flat is not necessarily the right way to collect that kind of energy. It's a sphere, if we can do it, or a almost sphere. With also having the ability to have bifacial abilities to pull energy out from both sides. So there's a lot going on in the background when it comes to alternate energy, but Staccato is 100% right. We have to progress faster, and we have to do it with whatever energy is available to us. And one of the most energy dense things out there especially after refinement for automobiles, is oil-based products. Oil is in
Oil's
everything.
king.
Yeah, and you know the problem is all these people are, we can't pull out oil. Okay, then we're not going to have any more plastics. I mean, your rubber, your tennis shoes, a lot of your clothing has contributed to from oil. You know, medical requires oil constantly. In fact, what do you think lubrication? Where does it come from? We've used seed oils, but they're very ineffective, and we're learning more and more about them. And technically, a lot of the seed oils just end up being waste products, and they started shoving it in our food. We're going to start seeing a revolution against very bad ideas, and I think it's about time. So
Has been how many decades? 4 or 5 now ish.
hard to say. And Larry says he can hear every keystroke. I'm not sure if that's a Lester or Tony, but yeah,
It's not me.
yeah.
It's most
Well, yeah.
likely me. I'll mute when I type. I apologize.
No, fair enough.
No.
So, but look, I mean, we need an energy future, but we have an energy now. And I think that's just the better way to live. And I'm going to be one of those people who says I don't have a problem with steam power from coal. I said we have here in the United States, unlike China and a lot of countries that are trying to play catch up, our steam power it does have a
Fine
little bit
cycle.
of pollution effect, but we have wonderful capture systems in place,
Mhm.
and those have been being refined further and further as we progress forward. So you know, I think pointing the energy finger at America is not the right direction. The standard of living that the world enjoys, which is much higher than it was, you know, 4 decades ago, is largely because of American innovation and progress and our ability to develop and utilize our natural resources. And oftentimes we find ourselves using other people's resources because they can be provided cheaper. But we need to think beyond that in the future. And I like the direction that we're going if we're going to move to tariffs. I guess somebody in the chat disagree with me earlier today on the 6 Minute Daily, but for me, I don't want to pay. I don't want to pay more taxes. I want to be done. And I want to not pay taxes. And if it means a slight increase in the price of goods across the board because of tariffs, that's something I can easily align with. I don't know about you guys.
I think so.
Yeah, the less taxes that we have to pay means that we're being more efficient with the taxes that we do pay. There's a lot of redundant government offices that don't need to be there that can be cut, which would overall reduce our taxation
Well, how
and
many?
therefore release more money back into the economy where it's desperately needed and belongs.
How many unoccupied government offices were there? I saw a report on that here not too long ago. It's crazy.
It's a money pit,
And
a series of
and
money pits.
yeah. And they want to build more.
You know, from an engineering standpoint, being that I like to play with wires and I got a double E in power supplies and computers, so I can effectively say as an engineer myself, the more complex a machine is, the more points of potential failure it will have, and if one
Right.
point fails, it all fails.
Which is why, you know, throughout the entire development of the SpaceX rocketry program, they have done nothing but refine those engines. I think they're on the 4th now revision that'll show up here in a couple of years on those Dragons and similar, and on Heavy probably. That 4th engine is amazing. The number of parts that are reduced, the number of points of failure that they've been able to make because of the manufacturing processes and the continual refinement of that engine, I think it speaks volumes to what we should be doing in every single field. And the fact that we're not, that R&D isn't the center of a lot of tech companies is embarrassing. I think that's why Elon was able to iterate Optimus so quickly, and why I will have one in my house, at least one in my house, the first couple of years that they're out in the market. And I don't know why anybody wouldn't.
I want one.
Yeah, I think we all do.
I want one.
Think
They're gonna. I got cat litter. I'm tired of changing cat litter.
well, that of course, but it'll do the mundane tasks like those chores, but it'll also manage your chickens and your livestock and other things like that.
Oh, don't give my wife any ideas.
I'm going to tell you right now. I'm working right now with an AI agent. I'm building out an entire task process for it. so that I'll be able to work even more efficiently, which means, I'll be spending less time doing easily, manageable tasks that could be handled by a monkey. So if I can replace that with an AI agent, I'm gonna. But let's get to the super chat from our friend Staccato DDS for a generous $5 in culture cash. How do you feel about mandatory classes in high school on microcontrollers, Arduino, Raspberry Pi? I think that would be great. I think, to be fair,
That'd be awesome.
I think that it would absolutely advance the learning cycle for everybody. And it would, and this is the coolest thing, that class would be gender neutral. If it was mandatory for every student, you would have to have an in-depth understanding of what was going on and how that was, why doing certain actions a certain way allow a task to be accomplished and why it would fail. I mean, if we start playing with microcontrollers or any of those types of devices, especially if you have an interest in like animatronics or visual effects or things like that, these things all feed into each other, and they create a greater understanding. People need to know how computers work. We don't do that anymore. You don't have basic computers. I think there should be mandatory classes on government again in the United States. I think at a middle school level and a high school level, I think that's a required course. The fact that they got rid of the courses that allowed for you to be self-sufficient, home economics is non-existent in most high schools now. Do you have a problem with shop classes? You don't have driver's education. Used to be in high schools, driving classes. You could take that. It was an elective course. But wood shop, metal shop, auto shop,
mechanics.
yeah, and now, I mean, can you understand that most of these high school kids could walk out of high school as a tech at an HVAC company and start somewhere around $60,000 a year out of high school and just go from there because they could build upon that knowledge and that learning. And I'm going to tell you right now, HVAC isn't all that complicated, but as we get into more microcontrollers and things like that that are involved in the upper end of the HVAC systems, it gives those kids a head start that don't want to go to college and waste 4 years of their life and lose brain cells drinking themselves to pieces and making bad decisions. You start acting like an adult, like, most people should at the age of 18, because now you're in the age of majority. So, and we're gonna need those people to start reproducing faster too, to counter the massive infertility and birth rate decline that we've had, fertility and birth rate decline that we've had here in the States for the course of the last decade and a half. So I think that it solves a lot of problems, and so this is the beginning of one of many. So well thought of and well done, Staccato. I'm with you. Yeah, it teaches programming. It teaches all kinds. I'm going to ask you guys a question. So I'm 54. I got my first programming under my belt in 5th grade. I started writing in BASIC. Eventually, I wrote in ProDOS. I wrote in a ton of languages. I learned Fortran, Pascal, Cobalt.
Those are some words I've not heard in a long time.
Exactly. That's my point. But we all started out in BASIC or something similar, and we thought that, Fortran. We thought that we were going to go into object programming a lot more than we did until very recently. There was going to be a lot of different things that are in play. So, yeah, I mean, the fact that this doesn't seem to be available in most high schools and should be. There aren't really good STEM programs. I mean, can you imagine chemistry and biology in high school now?
Well, that's interesting because I don't know if I'm the youngest amongst us, and I left high school at 2000, but during the last 3 years, because I transitioned from a junior high to a senior high, so 10th through 12th grade, I already saw the offerings, and this is, just keep in mind, this is in San Diego, so I don't know what your guys' respective school districts were running during those years, but we were already they were pushing ROP, or regional occupational programs, that had us work with adult classmates in the mornings because that's when they would offer those classes. And it was interesting because you never would have thought that you would learn something that adults could pick up. You spent the year and you get your regional or ROP certificate in a certain class. So I did 2 or 3 classes worth of stuff where if I had pursued any one of those, I probably could have had a job path of some sort. So it's like, when did they stop doing this and why?
Well,
Yeah.
in look, you stopped people from imagining what they wanted to do and creating not just being an entrepreneur, creating a job for themselves, which like a lot of people say this, and it's simple thinking, but it's accurate thinking. In as much as invent your job. And do you know what you want to do? Invent a job that does that. That seems like a simple statement, but you certainly can. I mean, I would tell people to go out, learn the thing that you love to do, and make that your job somehow. That's certainly a possibility. But in school, if you are learning about this stuff and it moves you forward through a technology cycle that you come to love, then you'll do something that you love. I don't think we give enough depth to what will be the future not just consumers, but the future workers in our society. I mean, these are people that could invent their own jobs, but we don't allow for imagination. We don't allow for experimentation. We don't allow them to learn from all the basics because half the basics aren't taught anymore. What terrifies me is the literacy rate has fallen off tremendously. And all of this since we got the stupid Department of Education. Don't get me started. But Horseradish Power sent a £5 super chat. Thank you for that, my friend, saying the design language of the Raspberry Pi is the BBC Micro, which came about because Thatcher saw a need for computer learning. She understood what was needed. That's right, the Iron Lady herself.
Oh, wow.
Interesting. And then, of course, we got a follow-up from our good friend Sean Carter with the amazing puppers. For 10, Culture Casino Clam says, we need a system where the politicians sit down and discuss the problem, agree what's in the best interest of all people, and then do it, said with a straight face by Anakin Skywalker. Well, yeah. Actually, we used to have that system, but it's been compromised. One of the worst decisions ever made by the Supreme Court was to allow for monetary lobbying and things like that, and these massive PACs to support, ridiculousness. Well, I don't want to get into that, but that didn't help us any, because calling money speech is a different conversation, to be sure. But what I think has really halted us from getting anywhere is just the special interests, the lobbying money and everything else. It's taken the eye off the ball for governance, and governance is supposed to be there for the people, not for the lobbyists. I mean, certainly businesses are part of the community, but they're supposed to also be good citizens to the community. Somebody point out to me what a good citizen looks like from a business perspective. They're not many. So they have to complete their fiduciary, but they should also partner that with being a good steward of their community, but they're not. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But from that point, though, Sean Carter, you're 100% right, or in this case, Anakin Skywalker, 100% right.
Good.
But
The writer was.
yeah, but I will tell you that we have long had people become politicians rather than statesmen, and we need more statesmen in government now.
Well, we have
the dog's
professional
name, by the way,
politicians.
Culture. The dog's name is Dexter, and he is
Dexter. I love Dexter. That's a great name. Great show. Lots of fun. Everybody wants to be a serial killer that only takes out the bad guys. Daryl Brewer says, I'm 43. I never took computer work and wish I had now, but I did start off in HVAC at 19 and still don't now. That's too bad. But HVAC's amazing, and some of the more advanced systems, some of the more advanced HVAC systems and thermal control systems that exist do require an awful lot of technical knowledge now. It's amazing. Mr. Sucks says my BS was consumer econ. Should have been in high school. MMIS is in computers is obsolete.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, 57. Yeah, see, I know you and I were close to age, but yeah, you just take a look at these things. You go, wow.
You bunch of young whippersnappers.
Please, no more Imagine.
Right.
We're not going to say it.
Imagine, if you will, another imaginary solution.
Well, no, I was thinking that was a reference to Wonder Woman leading the celebrities in Imagine during the pandemic.
Well, I took it down a Rod Serling out. Imagine, if you will.
Yeah. Well, and here's the other thing: master electrician wasn't sold as an option. Well, it should have been. Electricians are incredibly valuable. It's one of those trades. It's one of those trades that you're writing big checks to, build your mansion like every decade. So it's a good gig. It's the same thing with plumbing. It's gross, but it's great. And you can mitigate the grossness if you want, but I'm just saying it's incredibly important. And when you start to work on more commercial projects and become more specialized, you get paid better. That's just the way that it is. Just the way it is. Mexican Iron Man. Hey, there he is. Just left a film thread where I was working as a mod. Since no one told me about today in advance, you weren't paying attention during the 6-minute daily, my good friend. And as we've already exceeded the time we were going to run, Mike, be available maybe this weekend. I have to do 3 of these this month, so I'm sure you will stumble your way into one of them. But I love and miss you, my friend, and it's good to see you. Where's the HR office? So I can turn my wrench in my high roller. You are not going to turn them in. I need you. We're not at 100,000 yet. I need you. But on that note, I just had a friend jump in the back. Hopefully he wants to say hi to everybody, and then we're going to try and wrap it up unless you guys have anything else you want to comment on. This is Captain Fandom Nerd. What's up, buddy? Good to see you.
Not too much. I did want to say hi to everybody.
All right, good. Yeah. Captain Fandom Nerd is a lot of fun. He's gonna bring back my morning coffee. He's gonna do it. I believe he's gonna bring it back.
Awesome.
I hope so. Hope he does.
Mike says he'll be 20 minutes.
Dude, we're not going 20 more minutes.
Yeah.
What do you mean you can't go 20 more minutes? I did it for you.
I have to tell you right now, I love this man. He's a good friend, and he is a wonderful supporter. Breaking. I'm filing a lawsuit.
For wrongful impersonations. Fuck that guy, that other Tony Stark guy.
I love you guys so much. Look, for those of you who were here, this particular stream is called the Meet the High Rollers, and it's for people who obviously are the highest tier of support for my channel. I consider everybody out there, whether paying or not, members, but every single subscriber a big part of what we do and why this channel continues to be more and more successful and why we're growing again, which is all because of you sharing out the content, sharing the videos, showing up at the streams, going to the watch parties like we had last night. We've got another one coming up, not this Tuesday, but next Tuesday. I'm going to change the structure a little bit so that the rewards club folks are able to come to one of those watch parties every month, while gold will get both. It's just a way so I can deliver more value for supporting me. So keep an eye out for that change. It's coming up. And and when you're gifted a membership, take advantage of it, please. On that note, I just want to say again, thank you for joining me, Captain Fandom Nerd. Thank you, Mexican Iron Man. No, this stream is called Meet the High Rollers, except the Mexican guy. You do better. You do better. I am even not playing your famous window exiting clips at all on this stream. I have played none. I've respected you on this stream. I don't know if I can guarantee that on another stream, but on this stream, I have respected you. I've not shown everybody how you leave a building. So on that note, I will say this. I've had an extraordinary time. I always do. I want to say thank you to the high rollers who were on this panel. And for those of you out there that didn't get to join us this time, like Mexican Iron Man, because there are bigger channels that are also my friends, but there are bigger channels to moderate. So I understand. I mean, that's Mike's priority, and clearly he wasn't listening on the last 2 6-minute dailies where I said we were going to be doing this today. So it is what it is. Anyway, all right. Thank you guys, and thank you out there. And for those of you who don't know, I always try to end with the same statement. Be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, and until next time, see ya. Truly.
Hi everybody, how y'all doing? Well, as some of you may know, I'm a bit of a casual gamer myself, and while I've done the best I can to collect the consoles and the games that I've loved over the years, well, it's a hard industry to keep up with. And if you're anything like me, and you have trouble figuring out where to start, or maybe you're just an avid collector and lover of video games and love sharing that with your friends, well, I have a place for you, because our friends over at That Park Place now have a gaming channel called That Game Place, where you can expect the same journalistic integrity that you have from That Park Place and ThatParkPlace.com. And, well, I'm looking forward to the gaming streams and just the coverage of the industry as a whole. So, I suggest you go make sure that your controller's charged, because I'm going to do that too. Well, I hope to see you there. Bye!